Hello everybody, welcome back, and in today's video we're going to be doing a tasting of our C1A style cider, our Just Cider. This cider has been inside the kegerator for about 2 weeks at 15 psi at 38 degrees, so that's roughly about 2.5 atmospheres of carbonation in it, and it looks pretty carbonated now, so we're going to go ahead and give this a taste and give my initial impressions as well as a sensory evaluation of this cider. So let's go ahead and get started by taking a nice bit of cider off of our draft. All right, now it's time to evaluate this cider now that we've taken a pint from it from our kegerator. For evaluation, we're going to be going over 4 primary things. The first is going to be appearance. The second is going to be aroma. The third is going to be taste. And then the final thing we're going to do is give the cider a rating from 1 to 10. So I will be doing this process for all future cider videos. So let's go ahead and evaluate the appearance of this. Well, this thing is wonderfully crystal clear. You can see through this. I can see clearly my finger on the behind of the glass. Can't quite see fingerprints, but that's because the glass is a little bit cold from the cider. So this is what I would describe as a brilliant in clarity, as well as having a nice medium gold appearance and color. As you can see on top, we have some really good head retention. I did cause a little bit of intentional foaming with this cider when I poured it off of the kegerator, but that's about it for intentional foaming. The head's been able to be maintained from that point on. Okay, so let's go ahead and evaluate aroma now. So initially what I'm getting is apple, and I'm kind of getting this kind of wine esters. I noticed this originally when I had taken this off and did a previous first tasting of this. This yeast kind of gives off this like wine-ish type of aroma. It also is giving off both like regular. It's kind of hard to describe. It's giving off both a regular apple and a green apple kind of aroma. That might be due to the age of this. This is only 2.5 months old. In general, 3 to 6 months is usually the good period of time for cider for tasting. But I'm impatient right now, and I really wanted to try this. So this is only 2.5 months old. Today is the 3rd of August, and I believe we put this in on the 25th of June. Is that 25th of June? That sounds about 25th of May, maybe? Yeah, I think it's maybe the 25th of May or 25th of June. So it's been 2.5 months old. So might still have a little bit of youngness to it. I am kind of getting like an earthy character to it as well. Very, very mild earthy character. I wonder if it's... I occasionally smell barnyard notes on drier ciders, but I don't really smell that on this. Okay, well, that's it for aroma. Let's go ahead and give it a sample. I'm going to do a short sip first. So right off the bat, you get this really sharp sensation. I wouldn't say it's overly sharp, but it definitely is a sharp malic acid sensation. The first thing that hits your palate, and then after that it kind of washes over with this green apple, and then a little bit more longly progressed, it kind of has the more like characteristic apple cider flavor. It is sweet. This finished at completely dry when we stopped our cider, even though our digital hydrometer said 1.002, measured the gravity, it was 1.000. So these hydrometers can be inaccurate based off a number of things: temperature, alcohol content, and I believe like whatever the actual component that is measuring, and there's just a density measurement compared to water. So take final gravities with a grain of salt sometimes. Just make sure you're consistent in your measurements. This, if it was fermented completely dry to 1.000 with our back sweetening, would make it 1.075. 1.0075 for final gravity, which would put this in the medium sweet range for cider. But it is coming off as perceptibly more sweet, which is unusual. This is coming off as if it was a sweet cider, not just a medium sweet cider. So that's interesting. I'm going to give it a larger sample now. So right off the bat, you get that acid sensation. Acid's a very prominent flavor in this, which is good, in my opinion. I like that. It's not overly acidified. As it kind of washes around your palate, it produces this bitter note on the back end, and then it kind of just lingers around. It just, the bitter flavor just kind of just sits on the back of your palate for a little bit before it kind of washes out. It's actually still there. That can be definitely attributed to the tannin content in this. That kind of longevity of flavor. It's both bitter and sharp on the back end. It's kind of just staying there. The sweetness carries through the entire sip, but once you kind of swallow, the sweetness kind of slowly dissipates into the background. Primary flavor components of this is definitely apple and I would kind of contribute. It's hard to say. It has a really wine-like property, and it's not. I shouldn't say. It's a bit confusing, because there is an unusual like background flavor here that I'm not 100% sure what it is. It kind of tastes a little bit green apple-y to me. And that green apple might be producing that unusual note. It's kind of like an earthy type of note. Now, keep in mind, I did use a tannin addition of FT Blanc here, which is a white wine tannin. And that might be causing that earthy note to happen too. It's just made of crushed gall nuts. Gall nuts they're not actual nuts. They're a portion of the tree that they grind up and make into a tannin addition, similar to how you would get tannins from oaking. They just grind them up into a powder and then just throw it into your brew. Yeah, this is. I'm kind of trying to trace that flavor. It's in between the. It's in between the bitter and sweet realm. So it's hard to place. It does have very good astringency carrying it through, though. This thing lingers on your palate. Not to mention the actual body of this. It feels like it has some heft to it when you're drinking it down. And the carbonation adds a really lovely sparkle to your mouth as you drink it. It adds like part of the full flavor experience of this. The carbonation's actually really enhancing the apple notes and really enhancing the acid notes, too. To make it so that it's not just that unpleasant acidification that you would get from just something that's super tart, but it actually just carries it throughout the palate, kind of dissolving as it would on the entire surface of your mouth and not just sticking around certain areas. It's very clingy. Actually quite pleasant with the carbonation. I think having this being a sparkling carbonation did this a service. I'm also pretty confident in our technique of back sweetening here. I think that actually did this a service as well, because if it was just a standard dry cider, that bitterness and astringency, it would be a little bit too austere for the cider style. We shouldn't be having an austere cider for a New World cider. All right, now it's time to rate this. This is kind of a challenging one. I like several components of it. I like the carbonation level. I love the clarity. I love the color. It has a wonderful, in my opinion, aroma for the most part, and it has a wonderful flavor for the most part. But there is just something that's like slightly off on it, and that's giving me, that might affect my opinion here. My final rating on this is going to be a 7 out of 10. This is good. This definitely fulfills most of the style. This definitely fulfills all the style guidelines. This has a perfect balance of astringency to acid to sweetness, kind of just married there. I don't even taste perceptible alcohol on this. Wasn't even a flavor note for me at all. It finished at around 6.5%, but with after back sweetening, it's roughly 6.3%. So this, it does have a bit of booze to it and has a bit of a kick to it, but I don't taste that in it at all. It's just married very well with the other flavors here. But the reason why I'm kind of marking it down is because it does have that kind of earthy, bitter note into it that isn't necessarily associated with apples. More of the apple bitterness, kind of like from the tannins. It has a complex that has a more kind of a sweet note to it. And I think that the tannin addition or the acid addition just put that earthy note into it, and I don't really think that's appropriate here. That being said, I think the cider is wonderfully balanced. It's a good crushable cider drink that you would have over the course of a long encounter, and if you weren't trying to just pick apart the details of it, you probably would enjoy this very much. I'm just going to doubt its competition potential. I do have other C1A style ciders up in the works where I use stuff that aren't additions to the apples, like not artificial additions like Malic Acid or FT Blanc, but actual like acid blends in order to do that. So we'll see how this stacks up to that one that does go out. So I'm going to save an extra bottle here for comparison between those two. For our 1 year tasting and after competition tasting, I'll be doing both of those with our BJCP style ciders. So overall, 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. This is actually incredibly easy to make for a home brewer, and it is effectively mostly store-bought ingredients. The only non-store-bought ingredients are, things you'd find in homebrew stores like tannins, acid, specifically malic acid, your cider yeast, AC4, and pectic. No, I didn't use pectic enzyme for this one, I don't think. Fermaid-O. That was the other one. So if you can't use those ingredients, there are substitutions you can use for them. It is going to change the flavor profile, but I think that for the simplicity of this drink, it actually is carrying itself very well. And I think that the actual complexity of it can be improved by the addition of apples that have those kind of bitter and tart features to them in order to round out the whole entire cider experience, because store-bought juices usually balance more towards the sweet side, and it has a very small addition of tannic and tart apples. It's mostly just the sweet apples because that's what, quite frankly, North American people prefer in their apple juice, and that's what you can get. We'll be checking back over the next couple of videos that I have and kind of seeing if we can resolve this kind of unusual note in our future blends, and see what we can do about that. Overall, though, pretty good. I would recommend making this one. It might be improved with time, so we'll figure that out too. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you missed the recipe video, go ahead and check out the card over here, and that'll give you a link back to our recipe video for this. It's pretty simple, just apple juice chunks. And then we'll see you on the next video. Cheers and happy cidering.